Dave, I'm good. How are you?
I'm going really, really well. Thank you so much for agreeing to chat to us today.
Of course.
Well, Mike, I wanted to
For
start.
being,
I wanted to start off by saying congratulations on the film. It is an absolutely fantastic film, so congratulations.
thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about how this film came about. I know it started off as a short film. How did it end up becoming a feature film? What was it that you saw in that short film that made you decide to go the whole hog and create a feature from it?
It was really my conversation with Jeremiah, the writer director, that got me excited about the film. When I found the script, I had just produced a movie called MFA, and in that movie, that's like a thriller, but it also comments on assault, like sexual assault, and so it had everything that was good about a thriller, but then it sort of said something, and that's what I was looking for at the time where I found Slapface. I wanted sort of a horror thriller, but I wanted it to have a message to it, and I through a friend, through Joe Benedetto, I met Jeremiah Kipp, and Jeremiah sent me the script, and I read the script, and immediately I realized that it was sort of what I was looking for, in that it had all of the good scares and sort of stakes and tension that a good horror thriller has, but it also really, in my opinion, it was about trauma and grief, and the witch being a manifestation of what was going on in the mind of this young boy. And it's interesting. Originally, the script was a story about a father and a son. And I told Jeremiah, I said, Jeremiah, I love this script. I really want to play this role, but I want it to be your decision. How do you feel if we make it a story about a younger brother and an older brother, keeping everything else the same, but it's almost more tragic when this older brother is genuinely trying to do what he thinks is best and genuinely trying to be a guardian. He's just not given any of the resources or roadmaps because their parents passed away. And I said, keeping everything else the same, it just adds sort of an element of tragedy to it. And he took a few days, and he came back to me and he said, absolutely, I love this idea. Let me write it into the script. And he changed the script, and I fell in love with it, and sort of the rest is history.
How much research did you do to fall into that character? Did you chat to people that had brought up siblings without parents around or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. I There is an element of alcoholism and in the character and within this family unit, and I myself have dealt with sort of some people in my life before, people that I loved, having dealt with alcoholism, so that was something that was close to home. I was also bullied as a kid, so I understood that element and what the young boy, August Maturo's character, Lucas, would have been going through. And then above that, I did talk to sort of friends that might have been single parents or people in my life whose parents had passed away when they were younger. I absolutely did that when I was researching for the character.
As an actor, do you find it easier to go into a role where you can relate to certain aspects of that character, say, rather than go into a role where the character is completely different to you?
Yeah, I think every project is different and every character is different, and that's what makes this job exciting. I think that I appreciate a challenge, and I do love when I am able to play characters that are very different from myself. But ultimately, I think that we're all human beings. We all have things that we love, that we hate, that keep us up at night, that excite us, and so just I think that I have never experienced a character that I've been forced to play that I haven't found some real human connection with, and that is sort of what I use to build the character rather than something completely imaginary.
Yeah. Now, talking about the casting for the film, August is absolutely fantastic as Lucas. Tell us a little bit about how you discovered August as a young actor.
Yeah, we really lucked out with August, and I truly couldn't imagine anybody else in the role of Lucas. We had a casting director on board, Carolyn Sinclair, and then obviously there was Jeremiah Kipp, and then there was myself. And we all sort of made independent lists of actors that we thought would fit in the role of Lucas, and August Maturo was on at the top of all of our lists. And so we came together and we said, okay, let's reach out. And it just so happened that August was looking for something like this, a project like this. August and I both got our start on Disney. I did this Disney movie called Cloud Nine, and I was on a show called Crash and Bernstein, and then August was on a show called Girl Meets World. And so I knew that the work ethic of a young TV actor is incredible, and I knew that he would come to set and he would be prepared. What I didn't know is, and this is what excited us about him having been on The Nun, a hugely popular horror film. He sort of brought this understanding of the genre and the emotional depth that none of us could have anticipated, and I definitely think that shows on the screen.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say too, as like playing the older brother, but you would have almost been like the older brother to August as well on set, especially guiding a young actor through a genre film like this where they're tackling subjects that they have probably never encountered in their real life. What was that like for you, almost being in a mentor role for August with this film?
August and I clicked right away when we were on set, and I remember the very first day I told him I liked comic books, and he runs and he grabs a notebook, and he runs back and he showed me this comic book that he had been creating. And I'm looking at him like, wait a second, you're a 12-year-old and you're making your own comic book, and then there's another day where he's writing poetry and he's sketching, and he just blew me away with how creative and how deep his soul is. Regardless of how old he was. So we automatically clicked. There were so many times on set where we would just be hanging out, laying on the couch together, just like back to back, just talking about things. And I think that really added to the chemistry on screen. There was this level of trust. There was this level of vulnerability that I don't think that you can fake.
Yeah, you mentioned also that his experience on The Nun was very, very valuable as well. I was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. How did his work on The Nun help you all out as well with the genre side of things?
I think that particularly maybe Disney actors or TV actors, sitcom actors, they are very technical, and they're very they plan their movements, and there's this sort of there's a technical aspect to what they do, and I think sometimes that creates barriers to how deep a actor can go. And I think with August, because of his experience on The Nun, he wasn't afraid to get messy. He wasn't afraid to cry or to scream or to do something unexpected, because he understood that was the story we were telling. We weren't telling this tied up in a bow, neat Disney sitcom story. We were telling a deep story about emotional distress, about a boy and his witch. And I think that because of his experience on The Nun, he understood the assignment.
I always wonder, do you find you have to shield younger actors when they're on the set of a genre film like this from certain aspects of the horror kind of thing? Or do you find that most young actors these days are just really quickly to adapt to what is going on around them, and they don't let it affect them once the director yells cut?
I think it's both. I think that I can only speak to our film in that August became very good friends with the actor playing the witch, Lucas Hassel. He became very close to him before the makeup and the wardrobe came on. So I think that there was also this element of trust between those two actors and August wasn't scared. In some of the more violent scenes. I think that he wasn't scared of me in some of our more violent scenes because we had that level of trust. And I think that young actors are able to live in their imaginations, and then sort of step out of their imaginations. I would say with more adult themes, when it comes to sex or drugs or other things, I would imagine that it would be harder for younger actors to separate what's going on in the movie with what's going on in real life. But our film didn't have really any of that.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. Now, Jeremiah Kip, I think he is one of the most talented filmmakers going around at the moment, and I can't wait to see what happens with the rest of his career. Tell us a little bit about Jeremiah. What does he like to work with as a director, and how did you find that relationship as well as actor and director and producer and director?
I think Jeremiah and I had the perfect partnership. I trusted him completely, both as a producer and an actor. I think that because he wrote the story, he had a deep understanding of the characters, and he also has such a respect for like Grimm's fairy tales and this fantastical but grounded way to tell the story. It's also based on some of his childhood living, spending time near the woods with his grandparents. And so he had such a deep well to sort of pull from with explaining the characters and the reasons that he wanted to shoot things a certain way or explore certain emotions. And then that just translated to me as an actor as well. Every time that I had a question about Tom as a character or why he was doing something, Jeremiah would approach it like a partnership, and we would figure it out together rather than a director talking down to an actor or ordering them to do something. It was very much a partnership from start to finish.
Definitely. Now, the film is already an award-winning film. How do you feel now that it's being released on Shudder out to a much wider audience? Do you feel nervous or do you feel excited?
I feel both, to be honest with you. Slapface, I've been involved with a dozen other films on the production side, but Slapface is the first film that I feel like from start to finish, finding the script, raising the money, hiring the actors, shooting the script, selling the script, delivering the movie, from start to finish, this has really been my baby. And so the fact that people so far have been receiving it like they have makes me very, very happy. I'm nervous. It's like you're sending your kid off to first grade, and you don't know how the other kids are going to treat him or her. But I'm based on the reaction so far. I'm optimistic, and I think that people will understand and will appreciate the story we're trying to tell.
Definitely. Well, Mike, to wrap up, what would you like to say to everybody out there who's listening at the moment who are thinking about sitting down this weekend and watching Slapface on Shudder?
I would just say I hope they enjoy it. I hope I hope it has all of the scares and the tension that a horror fan would want to see in a film like this. I also, hope that it makes them think about maybe bullying or grief or trauma or the way that we treat people and talk to people, because that's definitely an element of the film that that I would hope sticks with people after they turn off Shudder or stop watching the movie.
Definitely. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time.